Hello everyone, my name is Morten, and in this video we will be taking a look at installing Ucommerce on Sitecore, as well as setting up the Ucommerce for Masterclass assets in order to build with Sitecore and Ucommerce. In this video we will set up the front page and we will clone a Visual Studio solution that we will be using for the Masterclass throughout the entire thing. And here you will see how we will leverage the setup in order to build a web shop from scratch, going from nothing to a fully functional store. And the first thing that I will do is install Ucommerce on Sitecore. I have downloaded the package from the website, and here I have uploaded it in this installation wizard of Sitecore. So now I will just go through the installation very quickly. Nothing needs to be done here besides clicking next and click install. Once it's up and running, we will be able to move on and get further on with the setup so we can start building. So let's wait for it to go through. And now it's done installing, so I'll just close this window, and what we can see now is Ucommerce installed here on the desktop as well as on the launch pad of Sitecore. The next thing that I will do now is I will go to the Masterclass repository for Sitecore. There's a link in the description, and I'll basically just clone this to whatever favorite location that I want to use. In this case, I will be putting it right here, a new folder called Masterclass. I will clone the project using GitHub. I can also just download the zip file if I want to instead. That's it. And I will then open the solution using Visual Studio. And as we can see here, the Visual Studio solution is very bare bone. It only contains a couple of folders. One of them is a configuration file that will set up a site in Sitecore that we will be using for the Masterclass. It's very simple. It's just setting up a site that responds to /store, which is where we will be building our website. So we'll take a look at that in a few minutes. Besides this, it's just an MVC project. There's controllers and models and some views. All the controllers are empty because the bulk of the Masterclass here is to work inside the controllers to use the Ucommerce APIs to see data on the front page. All the models has predefined, so we don't have to scaffold that. All the HTML has also been scaffolded, so we don't have to tamper with that, which will excel the learning curve a little bit, as we don't have to tamper with HTML and markup. That's just predefined and has nothing to do with Ucommerce at all, actually. And what we will experience here in this first little exercise we will go through is that building with Sitecore and Ucommerce is primarily building inside Sitecore. You will scaffold all the pages in there, make them point at the controllers in your solution, and that's basically what Sitecore does. And then you can use the Ucommerce APIs inside your controllers in order to get the right data to present on the page. So that's sort of the model. Sitecore will do what they're good at, and then Ucommerce enables the commerce aspects of your web shop in your solution. The reason for that is that Ucommerce wants to be a best of breed approach. So we don't want to enforce any structure. We don't want to enforce best practices on top of your already huge knowledge of Sitecore. Do what you're good at in those senses, and then start to apply the Ucommerce best practices, which will not overlap with what Sitecore does whatsoever. And that's something that you will experience throughout the entire Masterclass here, that you're building partly in Sitecore and partly in Ucommerce, and that's how we want it to be, because that means that you are used to working inside Sitecore, so you are very excelled at that. And then it's just a matter of applying what does Ucommerce do on top of this. And that's what we're here to find out in the Masterclass. And part of it is working inside these controllers here. Now that we have Ucommerce up and running on Sitecore and we have the Visual Studio solution downloaded, we just need to do one thing, which is to modify the deploy path, because this solution here sits outside the website. So it's essential that when we have written some code and we want to test it out and we build, that it will push over to the correct location. We could use a thing like publishing inside Visual Studio, but instead we've just created a small post-build event via PowerShell that takes the relevant files and push them over to the website. It's just as simple as possible that it can get. The only thing that we need to do is open up the deploy local PS1 file that you see in the solution here. It contains a single variable, which is a path to the website and the root of the website, that is. So that's where web config sits and the bin folder and so on and so forth. Nothing surprising here. I'll just test that mine is correct. It is. So next to Sitecore modules, yeah, you know where it is. So just go ahead and modify the website root and build over your stuff. It will take just a few seconds. It has to restore the NuGet packages. It completed, and the way that we can see if we did the correct thing is to go ahead and browse the views folders, for example, and see that all the index files are over there. If that's the case, then good job. Just remember, you have to open up Visual Studio here in administrator mode, because it will most likely try to build over to inetpub where your site is running, which is most likely locked behind admin privileges. So just open up Sitecore, the Visual Studio solution, and you should be good to go. Once that's over, we need to go back to the website and go into the content editor, where we will then set up the first homepage. So here it is. I have created the stores node, which is just living under content. The only thing that I did was that I also created an empty template that I want to use for all my pages. It's called Masterclass. It will contain nothing. If you want to add some stuff to it, go ahead and do that. Apply your own best practices. For me, I just wanted an isolated template that I can use. And to then proceed, I have to go to View and click on Standard Fields, which will allow me to see the section called Layout. And here in the Layout, I have typed in Masterclass Home, which corresponds to the controller in my solution called the same, Masterclass Home Controller. So of course without the controller suffix. And I will save that. And then I will request the node called /store. And what we should see now is an empty website with some bootstrap on it. And if that's the case, then we are ready to proceed and to build our website. And there we have it, an empty website. Welcome to the Ucommerce Masterclass. This actually means that we are now in a state where we are ready to building the first couple of Ucommerce specific exercises. So thank you for watching and see you in the next video.